always believed his family was his safe place, the one constant in a world that could be unpredictable and cruel. When storms hit in life, he imagined their arms would be the shelter. He trusted the traditions they passed down like sacred heirlooms, and the beliefs they spoke into him became unshakable truths. Their rules were not just suggestions, they were the invisible map that shaped every step he took. And because he wanted their approval more than anything, he obeyed without question. Deep inside, he feared that going against them meant losing everything: their love, his identity, and his place in the world. But then he met you, his twin flame. You didn't just enter his life, you disrupted it in the most beautiful and terrifying way. You brought a love that was unfiltered, intense, and impossible to explain. It wasn't the kind of love he was used to, polite, contained, and bound by conditions. Yours was a love that pierced through his armor, forcing him to see the parts of himself he had carefully hidden away. With you, he couldn't hide behind his old masks. You brought emotions to the surface that he didn't even have names for. You awakened questions he had never dared to ask, questions that tugged at the very foundation of everything he had been taught. And with every heartbeat he shared with you, the quiet war inside him grew louder. The pull between his family's expectations and the call of this deeper, truer love. When he walked away from you, he told himself it was the right thing. He told himself he was choosing safety, familiarity, the comfort of home. He convinced himself that life would return to normal, that he could slip back into his old skin as if nothing had happened. But something had shifted, and there was no unseeing it. Now, when he looked at the home he had always trusted, the warmth was gone. The voices that once sounded like guidance now felt sharp, clipped, and controlling. The rules that had once wrapped him in a sense of security now pressed down like heavy chains. And the people who had always told him they loved him began to feel more like guards than protectors. It was only after your absence settled in like a long winter that he began to see the truth. His family had used guilt and fear as tools, not love. They had trained him to obey without question, to bury any feelings that might lead him to resist. Any thought or dream that didn't fit their narrow blueprint for life was met with criticism or silence. At first, losing you felt like losing everything. The emptiness was unbearable, and yet it became a strange kind of teacher. In the hollow quiet, he started to look within for the first time in his life. What he found was not easy to face. He uncovered wounds that had been there since childhood, wounds of never feeling good enough, no matter how hard he tried. Wounds from years of bending himself into shapes that pleased others while suffocating his own spirit. Wounds born from a fear of rejection so deep he had been willing to sacrifice his own truth to avoid it. The pain of those realizations nearly broke him, but they were also the spark that lit his spiritual awakening. He began to understand that love is not control, that loyalty does not mean surrendering your soul, and that a true home should make you feel safe to be yourself, not terrified of disappointing someone else. This awakening didn't happen overnight. It came in waves. Some days he felt strong and clear. Other days, he was buried under old doubts, hearing his family's voices echo in his mind. But slowly he began to question everything. He stopped nodding in agreement when something went against his heart. He let himself grieve the years he had lost to pleasing others, and he allowed the tears to come without shame. Forgiveness was harder. He had to forgive his family for what they did not know and could not give. But even harder was forgiving himself, for the times he stayed silent when he should have spoken, for the dreams he abandoned, for the love he walked away from. In time, he found the courage to step out of the cage. At first, it was just one step, saying no when he was expected to say yes. Then it was another, pursuing a dream he'd been told was foolish. And each step made him stronger, more himself, and less afraid of the backlash that used to keep him small. Through it all, you remained in his thoughts, not in a way that kept him trapped in the past, but as a reminder of what love could be. He remembered the way you saw him, not as the obedient son, not as the person shaped by others' expectations, but as the man he truly was beneath all that conditioning. He came to realize that you were never the cause of his pain. You were the mirror, reflecting the wounds he had avoided for so long. You were the catalyst, the spark that set the whole transformation in motion. Losing you was the hardest thing he had ever faced, but it was also the most necessary. Without that loss, he might still believe the cage was his home. Without that loss, he might never have learned that breaking free from generations of fear and control was even possible. This journey has not been about hating where he came from, but about loving himself enough to leave what no longer serves his soul. It has been about choosing truth over comfort, freedom over familiarity, and love over fear, even when it meant walking into the unknown alone. And somewhere deep inside, he hopes that the universe, in its quiet wisdom, might one day weave your paths together again. Not because he needs you to complete him. He has learned that completion comes from within, but because he would love to share the person he has become with the one who inspired it all. But even if you never return, even if your life has taken you far from him, he will always carry gratitude for you. Gratitude for the way you saw him when he could not see himself. Gratitude for the way you broke the illusion he was living in. Gratitude for the fact that in losing you, he finally found his freedom. Because sometimes the soul's deepest liberation begins with its deepest heartbreak.